Thanks so much for showing up. I'm Eric Dawson, manager of the McLaurin Historical Collection, and we're really glad to have a couple of people from Appalshop here today to talk about some of their work. But first, I'm going to tell you about some things going on here. Upcoming events, June 8th, we've got the Downtown Home Tour. I don't know if any of y'all been on that, but the Historical Society organizes this and will take you on a tour of people who live downtown in some of these buildings you've seen but maybe haven't been in, and the relative opulence within. So that's June 8th, and you can just go to the Historical Society's website and check that out, more information. And then June 15th, Advanced Genealogy with Ann Bloomquist is going to be taking place here. You do have to register for that, so please go online. And then further afield, July 24th, from the Grassroots Roundtable, Preserving Places and Stories in the East Tennessee Black Community is going to take place here. And there's going to be a panel presentation, so it's going to be a really interesting time then. But today's event, Appalshop, I'm sure you all are familiar with that, was founded in 1969 as the Appalachian Film Workshop, and it grew to become a media arts and education center here in the heart of Appalachia. You probably also know that in 2022, some series of floods came through and really did some damage there and devastated the archive. And that's what our esteemed colleagues are here to talk about today. Leo Shannon is an archivist from Seattle. He lives in Whitesburg, of course, working at Appalshop. He's been there through the flood and recovery efforts, and he's always looking for new ways to bring archival materials to life. And you're also an old-time musician, is that right?
That's right.
Is old time, or is that what? Or
yeah, everything.
Traditional?
Call whatever you want.
And then Shane Terry there, he grew up in Knott County, and in 2010 became a volunteer DJ at Appalshop's community radio station, WMMT. And he worked as a filmmaker with the archive on different projects, and then worked with WMMT before and after the floods. And since then, he's helped the archive with digital file infrastructure as they're working to save the collection, and they're going to clearly talk about that today and some of the work they're continuing to do. Gentlemen?
Thanks, sir.
Howdy, y'all.
Hey.
Love it. So yeah, Appalshop started as a workshop, the New York Appalachian Film Workshop, and then eventually the people who were teaching people how to do documentaries, how to film and whatnot, well, they moved on. And so it became the Appalachian Film Workshop. And then eventually it became Appalshop. And from there, you know, you had a lot of programs that kind of bloomed from that. Roadside Theater, the Appalachian Media Institute, the radio station, WMC Whitesburg, Kentucky, and several others.
June Apple Records.
June Apple.
We have some June Applers in
Yeah, we do. Pick and Bow, I mean, you name it. There's just been so many things grown from Appalshop. But yes, it's like our friend Eric said, we did experience a flood that devastated eastern Kentucky. And so like in 2022, that is downtown Whitesburg, and that is the bridge. And under that bridge is a scale where you can see how high the water's getting. Well, the scale didn't go that high. It literally covered Whitesburg. This is kind of another, a lot of businesses.
That's John Haywood's tattoo shop for anybody who knows it.
Yeah.
He's back in there. He's tattooing every day, but
Getting it done.
yeah.
And still playing old time music. He's going to play Seat Time on the Cumberland. We'll tell y'all a little bit about that later. But I mean, just you.
These are photos that Shane took.
You wouldn't, just things got moved that you would think never could be moved, you know? It was insane, you know, just like somebody planted a car right in there.
This is Neon, Kentucky in like the 20s or 30s.
Oh, yes.
That background photo.
Yep. That's the neon flood right there. But anyways, this is Buckhorn School. Just all over eastern Kentucky, just people just having to deal with all this destruction. And then of course the trash just kept piling up and piling up. But you know, eastern Kentucky as a whole, like we kind of came together, and people outside the region came in and helped. People all over, like from New York all the way to California, just coming out to really help people in Eastern Kentucky. But, and through that, it just was such a devastating thing. But having people come together to help, well, it really helped, I guess you could say.
It creates like a different relationship between people.
Exactly.
Where everybody has to help.
And
that's all you have.
That's really it. But a lot of people came in to help archive. Would you like to take it away there, Leah?
Yeah, so this is we'll show you some video as well, but we had a lot of really generous folks come and help rescue the archives from the floodwaters. It got up about 6 or 7 feet inside of the vault, just filled with disgusting floodwater. And so the months and years after that have been a kind of long trek towards getting all of the mud off of the tapes.
Do the tapes work after you clean them?
So this is the interesting thing. They do. Like anything magnetic, and also all of the film, most of what's come back is totally fine. You clean it off, and we'll show you a system that some of our friends rigged up to help us actually get all the mud and mold off. Because mold is also a big issue, because even the things that didn't get flooded, they were in this really hot, humid environment for a much longer than they should be. So
we'll get to that part.
All kinds of growth everywhere.
But I guess this is kind of like a video of what happened.
This is some footage just the few days after the flood.
Oops.
This is from my apartment.
Hey man, I don't know if you headed this way yet for work, but I really wouldn't come into Whitesburg today, period. It's flooded real bad, period. The whole Appalshop parking lot is underwater.
That's the Appalshop building. Yeah, all the water went down pretty much immediately and left all this.
Huh? Is there a shot back from the building?
This is Dudley Wilson.
That would suck this shit right up. And just get that the whole time long.
I was just wondering if we ever have enough volunteers to do archival stuff and.
No, we're not touching this.
Oh, okay.
Hi! I'm gonna go around the Walmart. Hi!
I think there's just.
Is this working for you? Yep. Great.
Yeah, so basically we were able to finish cleaning the vault of all materials and get it into the rest of the building where it's drier, because we have these contractors that are drying the building down. And we are trying to box as many of those up as we can and move them to our second location, to our kind of temporary backup location. Tomorrow we have a FedEx truck coming to pick up thousands of videos and films that we're sending to a lab in New Jersey and another one in Maryland to be kind of professionally salvaged. So we've got 25 volunteers between our two locations working on all this, and we're just trying to make it go as efficiently as we can. But we're also running out of the right kinds of boxes, and just a constant kind of juggling of trying to get the right supplies here.
This is the building where everything was moved to.
$988.
988, okay?
1001.
Okay?
1000.
1000, okay?
983.
Okay?
What a ride.
Y'all are welcome to shout out questions if you have any too.
But for now, just we'll move on to like our recovery efforts. So like we've made dam improvements, digital asset management improvements, because we're going to get so much material coming in.
Because all that stuff is getting digitized.
Yes,
now.
right now. We've worked to consolidate all digital materials and assets to kind of preserve those. We built upon our current website. We're trying to establish a new website. Leo, actually, would you like to talk a little bit about the website?
Sure. We've had a semi-functional website for a long time, and it's great, but it needs a little bit of a revamp. So part of, as all this new material is coming in and being cleaned and digitized, we're really excited to have a good place to put it all so people can find it and explore to their heart's delight. Because that's, for me, that's like the point of all this, is just for people to watch all this stuff. Because I mean, for so long, it's been these tapes that are in a vault, and now all the tapes are flooded, and it's like all these materials, but inside of the materials is where the magic is. So the website hopefully will be done in the next few months and will be a place for that magic to live.
Yeah. So we've also been updating our current equipment to clean and digitize material with our huge library. And we've been logging materials to send to our vendors and friends who are coming out to help save the Appalshop Archive. Our friends right here are Iron Mountain. They've offered storage. I mean, virtually endless storage, but we're having to work on how much we can store in their cold storage, because we can't let this stuff, go into like a warm climate. It will destroy it.
Yeah, and different things have different, like every format has a different requirement for like all the film has been kept wet for 2 years, because that's what you do when film gets wet. You don't let it dry out, apparently. All the tape, we had to dry immediately, and everything needs like different temperature and different kind of conditions. So
yeah,
there's like pretty much every format under the sun from the 1960s onward is represented in the Appalshop Archive. So it's a complicated task.
Yeah. And so AV Geeks, which we'll see them here shortly, they've provided workshops to help remediate. They've also taken on some video and a lot of analog audio to digitize and provide us, send it back to us. Specs Brothers, Legends, they have been working to remediate tapes, mainly U-matic right now, but they're digitizing that, sending it back to us for our ingest. And then of course Color Lab, who are also legends. They've been treating film, which is, it's a process that's above my pay grade. And they've been remediating it and digitizing it, and we're hoping to get back 4K film to just kind of prolong that lifespan of that film, as formats change and whatnot. So what are our formats? A lot. 16 millimeter film, videotape, VHS, U-matic, etc., audio, 1 inch, half inch, quarter inch, cassettes,
DAT tapes,
etc. I know, digital audio tapes, photos, that's collections, that's negatives, miscellaneous photos of Appalshop's history, and then of course the paper that is like documents concerning Appalshop programs throughout the years, and also historical documents concerning the region. It's a lot to save. Yeah. But we've been working with people, like I said, to remediate and digitize all this stuff and keep it alive. And these guys really did us a favor. This is these NYU students right here. They came in to participate in a workshop with us by the AV Geeks. That's Skip Elsheimer and Kayshawn, to learn how to remediate damaged tape and digitize it immediately. So right there is like some 1/4 inch tape. It's looking pretty moldy, pretty rough.
A lot of the audio that we have is on this format, and it was either recorded by itself or like it would as the audio track for a film that was being like recorded separately.
And that right there is Skip, amazing guy. If you're all familiar with archive.org, he told me once that he uploaded a quarter to a third of like the contents on that. And it's true. It's very true.
That's Kayshawn.
And this is Kayshawn. So Kayshawn has been working with us to show us how to remediate analog audio. And right here, it's a simple setup. It's no joke. It's just this easy. It is a board attached to a chip clip with 2 sponges, and it just runs right through it. It just bypasses all of the heads, all the capstans, all that stuff. Just runs it, and look how clean that is. It's just amazing.
It's amazing to me that the audio information is still on there, but it is.
It is.
We're going to listen to some very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, right here we got this NYU student just kind of prepping this whole thing. There's Leo just getting his preparation going. And then you'll just kind of see it run right here. It's amazing. It's so primitive, it's so it could be considered primitive or just something just so simple, but sometimes that's the best solution, especially when you have to go. And there she goes.
Just back and forth.
Yep. And so basically we run it into a transfer reel, and then from that reel we put the identifier on there, and then we run it back into another reel. We just go rewind, fast forward, rewind, fast forward, so on and so forth until it comes out, looking pretty decent, really. There'll be like some residue here and there, but for the most part, it's clean. Like, look at that. It's pretty damn clean. And so, like, that chip right there, that chip clip, it literally is like bouncing up and down to like kind of keep the tension kind of like loose. If it's too tight, it's just gonna snap it.
Like it absorbs the shock, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And so Kayshawn right here, he's stringing up our Technics reel-to-reel player right there, and just kind of showing us how to digitize and also how to maintain these things, because it takes a little bit of work to maintain these. We're looking at like lubing them, demagnetizing them, so on and so forth. And then, because they don't make these anymore. If we break it, well, we got to buy another one, and they get a little bit pricey. But so far, we've had really, really good results, especially once we get our equipment in. We'll be able to go just guns blazing. And right here, this is something you've been working on lately. Would you like to talk about the shells there and the tape?
Yeah, so to dismantle or to clean a cassette tape, you dismantle it and take the tape out and move it into a clean shell, which is very small.
Tiny parts.
But these have been pretty easy to do, honestly, except for the kind of the small screws and everything. And they also sound great.
How many have you digitized?
Probably just like 15. But there's a lot of like random like tapes that were just in the Appalshop collection that weren't part of any project. That a lot of those are on cassette. Yeah, as these people know, it's like it's really hard to categorize like as Shane was saying at the beginning. There's so many different programs over the years. Everything is kind of overlapping, and like a million different people worked on every different project. So part of our task is organizing everything, which hasn't really ever been done before. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and this is a high 8. These are like one of the more difficult ones to do because it's a tiny VHS, about this big. And it's just tiny, tiny parts that you got to run through. But this has been our big push right here. That's a U-matic player right there, a U-matic deck. They used these in the 80s to go around and shooting. It was kind of like the era where they were getting away from film, trying to get something more accessible for people. And so what we've been doing is Skip has been showing us how to turn a U-matic player, VHS, what have you, into one that will clean flooded tape. And again, it's like that simple solution that really helps. And so it literally is putting, we'll get to that in a second, but it's the same process here. It's transferring the information into another shell. Leo right here is just kind of cleaning off like some residue here and there, and then just putting it in another shell for us to basically run through this machine. You'll see right here in a second. Having a little trouble there with that screw? And right there it is. We put the identifier on there, and then we just pop it in, and that little chip clip right there, or just a clothespin, is holding this little piece of tape that is, it's a special kind of like scrubber that it scrubs the tape, but not too much. And so again, it's like basically it's taking those fingers and taking that tape and running it around to the sound head. That's where like that piece of scrubbing tape is. And it just goes back and forth until we have, until we're satisfied really and ready to put it into our digitization station. Just crazy. And right here is our digitization station. We're going to be purchasing a new time-based corrector shortly, but once these are cleaned, they have to be digitized. But Skip here will tell you.
The plan for Appalshop is that they have a workflow that they know how to do. And, we've set them up with some equipment, with their own equipment on how to do this process. So that what they'll be able to do is clean their own materials and actually digitize their own materials as well, which is cost effective. It's a better way. I mean, working with vendors is great because we're a vendor, but sometimes there's the cost of shipping. There's all this stuff is out of house. the timeliness of it, sometimes they need something that's done now. So if they have the ability to do that, then they can do it in-house.
Would you comment on the
Mimi
scope
Pickering.
of the Appalshop Archive salvage job?
Well, I can speak to the video and the audio that I've handled. I mean, there's film that's up in Maryland somewhere, and then there's paper materials. I can't speak to those, but it's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of material, and it all has been touched by water. And there's ways to fix that, ways to deal with that, to mediate whatever the issues were, the dirt that's sticking to stuff, the mold that's growing on it. There are all ways to handle that. And so we've had a very high success rate for things that look really horrible. We've been able to get really nice audio off of them and video.
You guys, amazing. And so this is basically, well, there we go. The fruits of our effort.
Yeah,
right here.
This was UMatic video. It says that UMatic videotape.
They was having church, and it was just about the nick of time that integration was fixing to enter the door. And there was a man lived over in Virginia, and he got saved. And the racial lines then was hard drawed against the black and the white, and they didn't have too much to do with white, colored. The white and the colored didn't have too much to do with each other. So he got saved. And he told the Lord, he said, Lord, I'll do anything that you want me to do. Anything. Well, you can tell God that. And when you tell him that, he gives you some time. So, he waited about 2 years before he tested him. And then one night in Virginia, it was the coldest night that ever was. And there come a knock at the door. This man knocked on the door. He was the biggest, the blackest man that he ever saw in his life. Said he was so extra big and so extra tall. He looked at him. He said, could I come in to stay all night with you? He looked at him. And in his heart, he wanted to say, no, you can't come in. No, no. And he thought, he heard the Lord say, didn't you promise me that you would do anything? He said, yes, Lord, I did. He said, come on in. And he brought him on into his house because he's wealthy. He wasn't poor. He was a wealthy man. And he set that big black man at the head of his table. And he told him to give, he told his wife to give him anything that he wanted to eat. Give it to him. But when this big black man was at that table, he couldn't get over him being so extra big and so extra black. He prayed. And said when he prayed, the room would get full of angels. And he said, put him in my guest room, the best we got. She put him in the best room they had. But he seen that big black man go up mountain them stairs to go up. And he's still amazed how big and huge he was. He just couldn't get with it. He slept all night. He come down. And overnight, a big snow come. And this man come down the steps. He put that big man right back at the head of that table again. That man would pray and look like the room got full of angels. And then he thanked him for his hospitality. He thanked him for letting him stay there all night. And he shook his hand and said goodbye. He left him, but that snow had fell. This is a real thing. This ain't no hearsay. This was a real thing. He said the real thing. He kept studying why was he so big? Why was he so black that he couldn't understand? He never saw a man so huge and tall. He said, I've got to see which way he went. I just got to. He opened the door. He looked at the door. Not a track. He went around the house in the snow with nobody's tracks but his. And he come to this conclusion that he had entertained an angel unaware. That's why it was extra black and dark.
That was from an unfinished documentary by AMI, which is the Youth Film Institute, Summer Institute. It was called Haints, but I think we got time for this. Actually, this is some audio. Oh, it stopped.
We can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh,
I don't know what's going on.
I think it went to the next video on the YouTube page.
Yeah, so we're gonna show some more video, but all of this is available on the Appalshop Archive YouTube channel. Okay, how do I go to the next?
Right here.
You got it.
Oh.
That's a different kind of thing. There we go.
There you go.
Sorry.
You want it fried? Okay. One of the main things on a buffet is to have a very good variety. This section can provide you with that. We have 6 vegetables in this area. I like to keep 1 fried product out here if it's good for your region. We have selected things that give us good color and are very cost effective for our customer. All are very palatable items. We also added another chicken reuse item. This is a stir fry recipe, very economical, very hard to keep out here because the customers love it. So it's a very good item that will help reduce your piece count. Behind that we have livers, which work well in a lot of areas. We have barbecued chicken wings. So we've transitioned through the cold bar. We've pretty well filled up some plates. We've come to our hot bar. We put potatoes, gravy, vegetables. We've put a chicken item. We've got bread. We've already got 6 vegetables to eat. Now we have another chicken item. Now we have livers and chicken wings. We have no place on our plate to put other products. So that is the whole concept, is to fill the plate with the more cost-effective items before the customer reaches the chicken.
Okay, this is the summation. 1, 2.
As I said earlier, we eat with our eyes. So let's see where we're at now. We went through the cold bar. We've had some good, bright, colored items. We've had a dessert. We've had salad. So our plate's starting to get pretty full. Now we move into the hot bar. We've got potatoes, gravy. We've got 2 vegetables. Now we have a chicken item. Now we have bread. Oh gosh, now we got 6 vegetables. Now we have another chicken item, plus livers, plus barbecue wings. Our plates are full. Now we're going to the chicken section, and we really have no place to put that. So by the time we get to put chicken on our plate, we really have no room for it. Chicken is the highest cost item on the buffet, so this automatically starts reducing your overall product cost and your piece per consumption per customer.
Okay, this is the close.
Okay.
The chicken section. Take 1, 2.
We're at our chicken section now. We have very little room left on our plates to put chicken. After that, we have 2 hot desserts. And what we have done, we've taken a cobbler, which I feel you should always sell a good cobbler. It's been a mainstay of the buffet program. And we've put it in the back. It's a little more costly than some of these other items, so we put it in the back. And we put a good bread pudding with fruit filling in it. We have a rice pudding that's very good, and we'll have all those available for you. So I think right now we should all go contact our franchise operations managers, get our buffet program in place, and let's fulfill our customer promise for 1994. Chicken.
Okay, this is the end. Take 2.
Now we're at our hot dessert area.
Let's just try to
Okay. Now we come to our hot desserts. We've got a nice apple cobbler and a bread pudding with fruit filling. We place a cobbler in the back because it's a little more costly than the bread pudding. But these are two good hot items that people really love. And we have several hot items now that we can put on our buffet bar. So what we should do now, we should all go call our franchise managers, get our satisfaction program in place, get our buffet manuals, and dig into this thing and get it fixed. And let's all go out and deliver our customer promise for 1994. That all right? Say yeah.
That was from Fast Food Women.
Yeah, that's a great documentary by Ann Lewis, who we're going to show a documentary by tonight, a different one called His Eyes on the Sparrow, over at the Central Cinema. We're going to screen 3 Appalshop films, including... but yeah, one thing just about this, a lot of the tapes that we have that are in the archive are raw footage like this which has, you know, certain feel. That's my favorite kind of stuff, where you just see everything and you can, you know, before any filmmaker has made their edits, they all were originally on these, you know, camera originals that I think are a lot of fun to watch.
On the next one?
Yeah. Oh, this is Belinda Mason, who was an activist and an AIDS activist in Eastern Kentucky. There's a nice little plaque of her in the library in Whitesburg, but there's a film about her that I think Mimi Pickering made. This is just some raw interview footage of her.
This group in Lexington, the AIDS Volunteers of Lexington, has done some real good work, and this is an invitation that they sent me to some hoopla that they wanted, you know, some kind of fundraiser thing. But it's coming along. Lexington's still real conservative, and those folks have a lot of trouble with their politicians down there. In fact, I think y'all may have heard that the dean down there at the medical school won't even let the young students who go out to talk about AIDS mention the word condom, you know, which is pretty bad. But you know, Lexington is still a pretty conservative town. This is a guy at the now these people right here want me to write an article for an issue of Primary Care, which is a periodical for primary care physicians who need a lot of help in figuring out how to take care of people with AIDS and how to act about it. At the last AIDS Commission hearing, it was about personnel and doctors and nurses and how we could recruit more of them. And it finally came down to the fact that there's been a study out of California that says that like 30% of the young doctors graduating from medical schools are intentionally seeking out practices in which they will not have to see people with AIDS. And it wasn't so much that they could claim a lack of knowledge as it was that people with AIDS often didn't have money to pay, or their other patients would find out that they were seeing people with AIDS and they would all run away and leave. And so you don't really, there's no way to, there was a woman who spoke about it who's a young doctor from California, and there's really no way to address an issue like that because it gets down to people's gut and how you change their gut and what they're made out of. And there's a way that you can teach somebody the proper protocol to keep from becoming infected, and there's a way to teach a child to put the toothpaste cap back on, you know, when it leaves it off. There's even a way, I have not found this way yet, but I'm sure there's a way that you can teach men not to pee on the commode lid, you know. But as far as teaching people how to have heart, you don't teach that. People either have it or they don't have it. And unfortunately, a lot of people who are graduating from medical school, apparently these days, from what I've been able to read and hear about, are not invested with that quality of heart. And so you can give them all kinds of continuing educations and trainings, but if their heart's not right on the issue, then they won't do it. And a lot of people ask me about Hartford and the kind of town it is, and it's the kind of town where the sign outside says home of 2,000 happy people and a few sore heads. And people say, well, gosh, you know, how is it that those people there accepted you? And I say it's just because they have heart. They're good people, and they're more willing to accept, in a way, differentness than people in other parts of the country, and certainly than professional people, you know. I'm thinking now about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to pursue when this drug runs out for me, and it may soon. It seems like it may, you know, its efficacy is going to be gone soon, and its toxicity is going to be kind of unacceptable. And so I'm thinking about what I'll do, and I pretty much decided that I'm not going to run myself all over the country trying to find, you know, the cure for AIDS, or trying to find the doctor who's finally going to take care of me. Because at some point, you really do look at what you're doing with your time and the quality of your life. And if you're spending all your time at least running your brain or your body or something somewhere else to you know, just to the next hope, the next development, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that. I figure I've pretty much exhausted the current medical possibilities for myself, and so I'm just going to see what happens. And it kind of feels, in a way, like jumping off of a cliff. You know, you always want to do it when you're a kid. You want to, I don't know, there's something in you that when you're standing on the edge of high rock or something just makes you kind of want to jump, you know. But then you know what would happen at the bottom. But here I don't know really what's going to happen at the bottom, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump. Oh, this is something I got to work on, and I needed to do it a long time before. It's like the biographies of all the people that are on the commission. And about me, they say, like in the first paragraph, they say, a mother of 2 children who acquired AIDS through a blood transfusion. I don't think that's really appropriate or necessary, because I don't think it particularly matters, except as a way to separate me from the unfortunate people who clearly acquired AIDS because they wanted to. You know, I guess. I mean, I don't know. So I don't like that, and usually when we travel and people are introducing us, they're always doing it out of this. And so I told them I wanted to rewrite mine. I wanted to say something like, you know, 32-year-old mother of 2 children, and then when I was diagnosed, and then about a rural area, and then I wanted to say something like, you know, she loves Conway Twitty, and she loves more than anything to be at her granny's house and sitting on the couch watching all my children with her or something. I mean, that would be a lot more telling about who I was in this thing. But I guess that isn't really what cuts it in sound bites and little short paragraphs and stuff, so.
Question. Was she talking about paper documents, and if so, how did you preserve the paper documents? I haven't seen anything addressing that.
That is a little bit up in the air right now. We have a huge freezer truck full of flooded papers that's just sitting in Whitesburg, eating up energy for the last couple of years, and we're still trying to find a place where we can keep it all frozen without spending so much money, and eventually get it all remediated and scanned. Yeah.
So we don't have. we don't have that much time left. We're going to skip one. Oops.
We had another question here.
I just had a question because I know after the fire at Highlander, we took a bunch of stuff to Wisconsin Historical Society, and they had a new facility, and they have huge freezer rooms. I mean, they're in their new facility. It's not really for people to use. I mean, it's just for storage, and they're right next to a river, and so none of the materials are on the bottom 2 floors, I don't think. It's just offices and stuff, and then everything is up. But they have a huge room for freezer. I mean, I don't know if it's full, because with climate change, you have a lot of floods.
Yes.
We may have to put that on Chad's radar.
Yeah, we might talk to you about this after.
Wisconsin Historical Society, there's this big
Okay.
The last thing, and then we got questions and answers, little Q&A. Our intern, Amaya, was awesome enough to make a found footage piece, basically showcasing the work we've been doing, but also showing that like the things that we thought might be lost can actually become something new. So
yeah, so this is all flooded video that she's edited together.
Oops, wrong one.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
There we go.
Phoebe, I believe. Isn't that her name?
I guess it is.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Phoebe. I've not met her personally, but I think her name is Phoebe. And was it his aunt too?
No, it's his sister.
Okay, his sister.
She drove a long ways up here to the apple shop.
For Buck's sister and his wife, we'd like to play this one for you entitled The Old Spinning Wheel.
Nobody couldn't go through that graveyard at night. You know, it was so spooky and hanging. And everybody go through that graveyard, he'll say, I'm cold lying here. I'm cold lying here. And drunk man went through the graveyard one night and he said, they heard that ghost saying, I'm cold lying here. He said, I don't want you cold, you know, keep all the dirt off.
They stopped, and she said, oh, what a darling little boy, or something to that effect. You know, me, man, I was stubbing my toe, you know, that whole thing. And she said, you want to go for a ride? I thought I died going to heaven. When I discovered I wanted to ride motorcycles. That's when I discovered I was a male. That's when I discovered there was a whole lot of a world going on out there that I wanted to know about. I'm certainly not intimidated with women on Harleys. As a matter of fact, I'm very pleased to see them doing what they want to do. There's no reason that a woman should have to be always dependent on somebody to take her for a ride. Go for a ride anytime you want to or need to.
My dad and my grandpa were both coal miners, but they were both very tied to the land. After they put in a shift at the coal mine, they would come in and work the gardens or work around the house or split out, make a sled, work with whatever around the farm. They knew every tree in the woods. That locust tree was good for a fence post, that you could find the right crook in the tree to make a sled runner.
And we was laying there. We kept hearing somebody walk upstairs. So Mom gets up and she goes and shuts the door that leads upstairs and she locks it. And I'm laying there and we look up and it's like a hand stuck to that tape. Just pushed it down, just looked right down on me. And we could make out a face. And the tape just sucked back up to the ceiling.
I definitely feel that bikers are stereotyped. They think that we have a bad influence on the community, and we're not. We're usually older people. We are from presidents of large companies to beauticians to truck drivers and young kids. And we just enjoy it, and we pull together and do our best to help our community out.
Thank you. Old Spinning Wheel.
And so it's been a lot of effort to try to, save all this material, preserve it digitally, because it's different, of course, and you have to back it up, and you have to create redundancy, fixity, as some people call it. But overall, this has been a really big project. Leo, would you like to comment on that?
Just how big the project is? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Never ending. It's like, what's actually cool is that it's going so much quicker now than it could have ever gone before the flood, because as anyone who works in an archive knows, it takes a long time for stuff to get digitized. You have to get a grant and then choose 3 tapes that have some relation to something that there's a grant for, and then get those digitized a year later. But now that everything got flooded, we have to do it all at once. So this is actually kind of an amazing, there was so many horrible things that came from the flood, but like we were saying at the beginning, it also changed how we relate to each other and changed how we relate to the archive. Now it's like, it all feels a little more immediate now, and now we can see all this footage and make new things with it. And yeah, this work is gonna go on forever. Maybe, probably, I don't know how long.
Well, it is forever because it's an archive. We preserve everything.
That's the idea. It's a fight against nature, and nature got a few punches in, but it's all still there.
We're still standing.
We're still standing. Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing. It's like, it's not really, it's always, eventually all this stuff is going to disappear. There will be a nuclear bomb. We don't know what's going to happen, but for now, it's really cool to be able to work on trying to bring this stuff to people and get people to see it.
Preserve history.
Preserve history.
So if anybody wants to support Appalshop, they can visit the appalshop.org website and go to the donate there. There'll be a tab. You can go down to Appalshop Archive to make sure you donate there. But, of course, feel free to donate to whatever program or Appalshop in general, whatever your heart goes to. But we wanted to provide this QR code if anybody was interested.
Mm-hmm. You can also, go to appalshop.org.
Yeah. And I guess that's it. We have a little time for questions and answers.
What are the films you're going to show?
What are the films we're going to show?
His Eyes on the Sparrow is the first one. It's about Ethel Kathy Austin, who is a wonderful West Virginia gospel singer and piano player. And then Youth Board, which you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, Youth Board was a place I went to. It was basically spelled Bored. It's where we had punk shows, and it was basically a way for youth to kind of help out their community, or host events for the youth, hosting punk shows, what have you. It's a hodgepodge really when it came to punk shows back in the day, and they're still going on. But that's a really, really cool, that's an AMI piece as well. And then of course we have the legendary Hassel Adkins. He was a rockabilly guy back in the 70s, 80s, 80s. It was 80s.
I feel like the film that was made might have been like early 2000s or the 90s that Julian was around.
It could have been,
this filmmaker Julian Nitzberg from New York came and made this film about Hassel. It's called The Wild World of Hassel Adkins.
Fun fact about him, he grew up listening to Hank Williams, and whenever he listened to Hank Williams play and he had a backing band, he thought, man, he's playing all them instruments? I got to do that. And so he would play, no joke, drums and guitar and just kind of go at it. I don't think he learned how to play bass, drums, and guitar, but
there's a lot of sound though. There's a lot of sound coming out of that man.
Anybody else?
So yeah, 3 films tonight.
Once you have rehabilitated the original materials, what safeguards are you taking to protect them from the other flooding, a fire, or any other natural disaster or natural or man-made disaster?
Totally. So we've recently got a Thunder Bay enclosure that we are taking hard drive discs. We are creating volumes. So we ingest those volumes. We're going to catalog those volumes so we know what is in that hard drive. And we're going to copy that over to 3. So there will be 3 copies, I should say. One that will stay with us, one that will go to Iron Mountain maybe, and then one that goes to, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, but geographic separation is the idea. You have things in different places. So fire happens somewhere, you got it somewhere else. But that's all digital. We also have all of the actual tapes being stored at Iron Mountain right now, which is a big old iron mine inside of a mountain in Pennsylvania, where they have a big archive there, and they store a bunch of government documents and stuff. But
and Iron Mountain
it's about
also
the safest we could hope for.
Yeah, and in Iron Mountain, they have been working with us to maybe provide some cloud storage because they're trying to reduce their footprint when it comes to cloud storage. So we'd have cloud, ideally a cloud, 3 disks, and then we kind of go from there. And we do have phases, of course. We're looking at LTO later, stuff like that. But for right now, hard disks seems like the idea because we can put those in hard shell cases and just send them out to be stored. And
I have 2 questions, actually. My first question is for any of the audio tapes that may have had sticky shed syndrome. How did you, because usually you bake them, and then you play them so that information doesn't just slop off. So how did you deal with that with cleaning? And then my other question is, was the setup for cleaning mold off VHS the same as the U-matic?
we've not quite gotten to VHS yet.
Yeah, we haven't tried that yet.
Right now, the U-matic is like our goal right now, our priority, because that's where all the primary material is. There will be also high 8, there'll be DV tape, there'll be all this format of videotape that we're going to have to get to, because a lot of vendors, they don't want to mess with like a DV tape that is about that big. A lot of small, tiny pieces.
Yeah, some of the weirder formats we'll do ourselves.
Yes. So we're getting to that point with our equipment that we're going to bring forward and purchase. But for the sticky shed, we've been working with AV Geeks on that, and their recommendation is just to run it as it is because it's already covered. And if we bake it, there's a chance that it might stick to the tape. So we're kind of just going by chance on some of those, because some of those are highly damaged and some of those are not too bad.
And he also recommended a food dehydrator for, I guess, tapes that are not as damaged but have the sticky shed, rather than getting a very fancy oven. He was like, just use a food dehydrator.
Instead of a $4,000 oven.
Yeah.
We use one.
A food dehydrator?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we've been told. We were going to get this expensive oven, but you know, it's like we talked about, sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer.
Yeah, who do you work for?
Oh,
cool. You're okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Iron Mountain, AV Geeks, Spec Brothers, and all the other partners you mentioned, are they doing this pro bono, or do you have grants and or donations that are?
It's a combo.
Yeah.
Iron Mountain has been really generous because I think they're also excited about the partnership and the idea of preserving everything. So a lot of the storage space has been offered pro bono. This is really cool.
Yep, and part of the pro bono, again, it's working with Iron Mountain because it's not just one person making that decision. We wish it was, because Betsy's been awesome, but they have also kind of told us this idea that they might be able to, as they house stuff, digitize it, because they also have a remediation team and a way to digitize that to send back to us. But for AV Geeks and Specs Bros and Color Lab, we are getting, I guess, a friends and family price somewhat, but it's basically putting together what we got from FEMA, what we have from these other pockets of grants, and just kind of figuring out where the road's going to go. Because FEMA, it's a sort of a battle there where we've been told we're going to get so much money for remediation, and then it's like stepping back and it's like, well, you have a penalty because you were so close to the river, even though that flood water has only hit that building like once. We never thought it would come up 7 feet in the building.
And you guys did move to higher.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not keeping anything on the.
No.
And in the future, because I think it's like anyone that has an archive today or working in an archive, I mean, the climate change is going to really affect all this.
Yes.
In all kinds of ways.
I mean, I'm sure people are asking you.
Yeah.
That you all you have a good lessons coming out of this.
We're trying to learn them. It's like an emerging field now. Is like climate change, disaster remediation of archives. So we're all like, a lot of this we kind of learned on the fly. Like there were people who knew certain things, like we immediately called Peter Brothers, who runs Specs Bros, and he had a lot of information, but a lot of it's just kind of trying stuff. And like the machine that Skip and Kayshawn rigged up, they just made that up. And
there's another machine that Skip is going to test out that has a motor built in the back of it. It's just a piece of wood like this, and on the front of it, it has these reels that you can put tape and film on.
Yeah.
And this guy is selling these for like $300 to $600, and it's just simple. It's just like a little motor that like just goes back and forth, kind of like the other stuff. And so we're looking at like options, because it is a thing that is emerging. Like, how can we do this in a cost-effective way that saves the archive? Because we have to save it. We have to save as much as possible, because it's literal history.
Yeah.
How much cataloging was done before? Because I noticed like you had that laptop set up where you were checking the tapes, right, when you bring them in boxes. So how much of that was done before the flooding, and then how are you putting that in your metadata?
So speaking of lessons, write the numbers on the media, because instead of just having a sticker on the case, because that's what we found. This is like the first few days after the flood was just furiously writing the unique identifiers onto the actual tapes, because there was a flood and so all the stickers fell off or were about to fall off. So that was, everything had an ID number, and it was cataloged in the archive, even if it wasn't digitized. So we know that it exists, but that was kind of the missing link of like we had to write the names on all of the tapes.
And for just to finish off on that point, I love Herbie Smith, but he had a bad habit of not labeling things.
Yeah.
Like, so there's 6 film reels, probably used for the Ralph Stanley story, that just say Ralph Stanley.
Oh, there's like hundreds of tapes that just say Ralph on them.
Yeah, Ralph or Ralph Stanley, but like there's like 3 in a box that we're like trying to decide what we're going to do with those as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you, Rick.
Thank you all for coming out.
Tonight, 6:45. It's free. 3 short films. It'll be about a 90-minute program. And Seed Time's coming up.
Yeah, come this Saturday. Seed Time on the Cumberland in Whitesburg. It's gonna
John
Haywood, Sarah Kate Morgan, Sunrise Ridge, Lips. Yeah, y'all should come. It's like
Randy Wilson.
I'm so excited about the music this year. Starts at 10 a.m. at the Appalshop Solar Pavilion in Whitesburg.
Thank you.